Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Hip Senior Podcast. My name is Marianne Bailey, and I will be your host today. My guest today is Lisa Raeberg. She is with Rehburg Life Settlements. Lisa, welcome to the podcast.
Delighted to be here, Marianne. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for being here. So, you do life insurance settlements, and I know that personally, I don't know enough about that to speak about it. So, I'm going to let you introduce yourself and tell everybody what you do, how you do it, and why it's important for people to know about it.
Yeah, so what is this thing? So many people have no idea. 2.5 million seniors a year will get rid of life insurance policies. They either lapse them, meaning that they stop making the premium payments and they let them go, or they surrender them, meaning that those policies have cash in them and they give the policy back to the insurance company and they get that cash out. So 2.5 million seniors a year basically get rid of life insurance policies. And they don't know that we exist. So I'm so delighted to be here to at least raise visibility that we're here. So what we do is we help those clients sell their life insurance policies for cash. So instead of walking away from their policy with little or nothing, we get them more money. And on average, we generate 3 to 5 times more money than them just surrendering those policies. And we even sell term policies, which inherently have no values. Once again, an insurance policy is an asset that people own, and they don't know that they're basically sitting on this asset.
So, how do they even begin to know? Do they have some kind of suspicion that they know? Or do they just reach out to you and be like, hey, can you research this and find out if I have any policies out there in the world? What's that process look like?
So clients will contact me knowing they have a policy, right? They know what their policy is. They know how much the death benefit is on. They know the insurance companies. That's really important because there's no database to search if someone has a life insurance policy. So they know what their policy parameters are. And fortunately, they have heard about life settlements either through somehow, right? Through watching this podcast, or maybe through a trusted advisor in their world, because we work with a lot of insurance agents and financial advisors to help their clients. So point is, they have heard of us, but most people, once again, do not know that this is even a thing. They have no idea that their insurance policy can be sold for money because it's an asset, just like a car, just like a house, but people just have no idea it's even an option for them.
Okay. So, Lisa, how did you get into this? Like, what was your background and how did you get into this story?
Yeah, so I've been in the insurance industry over 30 years. Almost all of that time has been working with insurance agents and financial advisors. So I was corporate, right? Corporate at what we call general agencies and corporate at insurance carriers themselves, marketing products to these advisors and insurance agents. And about 7 years ago, it was time for me to not be in an airport every week. I was running sales teams and basically I was all over the country. So there's a reason I'm lifetime platinum with Marriott, but that's a different subject. Time for me to not be in an
It's a
airport
different
anymore.
podcast.
That's a different podcast. Yeah. Time for me to not be in an airport every week. And so I left my corporate job and said, okay, what do I love to do? How can I help people? Because I love to help people. And how can I bring something new and different to these insurance agents and advisors that I know and love and have known them for a long time? Found life settlements, researched life settlements for a long time, and fell in love with them. And that's where it started. And I'm absolutely passionate about what we do because people, if they haven't heard about it, think, oh, this is just a little bit weird. So it was really important to me to research not only that it's legal, it's highly regulated, and that is a really big deal.
Okay. So, if people edit, look, just trying to think of where I was
That's going to
going.
get Ed out the phone.
Yeah, I will. Okay. Okay. So Lisa, can you think back and give me like an example of one of the best success stories that you've had getting a settlement sold for somebody?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I'm going to backstory that just a little bit. Here's what we typically see, Marianne. I think that's where you were going. We typically see people who they don't want their insurance policy anymore. They don't need it anymore, or it's become too unaffordable. So what happens is people hold policies for 5, 10, 15, 30 years. And at the end of the day, the policy did its job. And so maybe my spouse has passed away, or my house is now paid off and the kids are gone. I don't need this policy anymore. or it's not fitting in my budget, or it's just become it's too expensive for me to maintain. I'm going to let it go, right? That's typically what we see. Or maybe, and here's another key, I'm trying to find ways to pay for assisted living or memory care or home care, aging in place needs, whatever it happens to be. Selling life insurance policy can be a good solution. So here's an example of a recent sale. The way I look at it is every policy sale we have is a success story, right? We have happy clients that get money for an asset they didn't want anymore. But here's a typical example. We worked with a doctor who was 72 years old. He had $1 million policy. And to be clear, policies don't have to be $1 million. Right around 100,000 or more of face value or death benefit is what the buyers are looking for. So it doesn't have to be $1 million, but I'm using this example because it's just indicative of what we see. So it's called Universal Life. It's a permanent policy. It has cash in it. It has about $6,000 of cash in it. Not a lot. Here's the key. The policy was going to start costing him $2,500 a month
Oh my gosh.
yes, to continue it. So at $6,000 in cash, he had about 2 months worth of cash left in the policy. And then he was going to really have to start putting money into it. And he's, no, thank you. I don't want that. So we marketed his policy. And the opening offer we received on his policy was $30,000. Now that's pretty good, right? He had 6,000, the opening offer is 30,000. That's better than 6. But we're here as advocates for clients. Our job is to get the most amount of money for a policy that we can. We market policies. At the end of the day, he had $150,000. So he
Now
was going to walk
explain
away.
explain that to me. Who's benefiting from buying a policy like that? Why is that worth $150,000 if it was only valued to him at 6?
Yep, good question. So here's what the buyers are looking for, because without buyers, right, we don't have a market and we can't help clients. Now, to be clear again, I'm on team client. My fiduciary duty is to them to market this policy to many different buyers to get the highest amount. But let's put the buyer hat on. What are they looking for? They are typically looking for clients with 10 to 15 years of life expectancy or less. So if you're 30 years old and running marathons, this is not going to be the solution. What they get out of the deal is they take over the policy. So the seller, in this case, the doctor, signs over ownership of his policy. It's called a change of ownership form. Every insurance company has it. I can change the ownership over to you today by signing that form. So he signed over the change of ownership to the buyer. The buyer is going to continue to make those premium payments. And here's the key. They are making themselves the beneficiary. So they're willing to give $150,000 because they know they're going to get $1 million, right? That's the face value of the policy. That's the death benefit. It's just a function of when. So that is what they get out of the deal, is an investment for them. I think the other question that you had is who's buying these things. It tends to be institutional money. So hedge funds, college endowment funds, like the state of Michigan has $500 million invested in these. So they're doing it, like I said, for an investment, but on their side of it, it's also a diversification tool. So they can diversify their portfolio away from stocks and bonds and commodities.
So they're going to get $1 million out of the deal if that was what the number is. They paid $150,000 for it. What are they paying? Are they paying that $6,000 a month, or if that person is only 30, are they paying it front at a rate that a 30-year-old would pay?
So what happens is that the $6,000 of cash in it. So I'm going to backstory this real quickly, and then I'm going to answer your question. There are 2 different types of policies, or umbrellas of policies, if you will. One of them is called term. You've probably heard of it.
Right.
And a term does exactly what it says it's going to do. You have coverage at a certain premium level for that term, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, whatever it happens to be. So it's like renting a policy. The other category, if you will, is called permanent insurance. And permanent insurance does exactly what it sounds like. It's like owning your house. You make those premium payments into the policy. Now, the premiums are higher than term because part of that premium goes into what's a type of savings account, if you will. I'm just making this as simple as possible. A savings account inside the policy called cash value. So that cash value can be accessed during the life of the policy. In the doctor's case, he had $6,000 of cash value in his policy. So if he wanted that money, he would surrender because he couldn't afford the policy anymore, right? His option was to surrender that policy back to the insurance company and get the $6,000, right? Or sell the policy. Those are the two options.
Right.
So the answer to your question is the policy premiums to carry the policy were $2,500 a month.
Right.
So the new buyer is going to pay the $2,500 a month.
So they paid $150,000 to the seller, and they're going to continue paying that money each month into it. And then at some point, they're going to get $1 million out of it.
Correct. When the client passes away, they will get a million.
The client.
Mhm. When the client passes away, the buyer is going to get $1 million. So what
Oh,
they
I
put into the
see. Okay. So, yeah. So the buyer is now the beneficiary. He gets all the money based on this person's life.
that is exactly correct. So the client is still insured, right? But the client does not have anything else to do with the policy. They've transferred the ownership. The buyer takes over ownership of the policy. They take over premium payments, and the buyer's the beneficiary. So the buyer's paying that 150, right? Plus 30,000 a year, essentially, up until the client passes away in premiums. So that is a big part of the computation as to how much they want to pay for a policy. So in other words, if someone, once again, is 30 years old and is healthy, no buyer is going to want to pay for that because they don't want to wait 50 or 60 years to get their payoff. They want
Right.
something that's going to be sooner.
Interesting. A whole new part of insurance that I have no clue about, but now I'm a little bit more clued into it.
Well, and
So,
it's opposite regular insurance world too, right? Because in our world, the more health issues someone has, the more valuable their policy is.
right.
Because the shorter the life expectancy, the more money a buyer is willing to pay for that policy because technically they'll get their payoff sooner.
So I would imagine a lot of people tend to do this rather than leave their money to their kids who maybe have gone before them or are financially settled and don't necessarily need an inheritance for their lives. Like you said, to pay for rather than burden their children with trying to pay for assisted living or something like that, for that to pay out for that seems rather reasonable.
Yeah, but to give you some perspective, remember we talked about earlier that a lot of people have no idea this is even an option for them?
Right.
Here's perspective. We talked about the 2.5 million seniors, right, that get rid of their policies. Only 3,071 to be exact. 3,071 sold their policies last year. That's it. Huge, big gap. Now, I'm not saying that all 2.5 million seniors could have sold their policies because maybe their policies were too small, right? Under 100,000 or whatever. But I am saying that an awful lot more than 3,071 could have sold their policies. They just had no idea that this was even an option.
Now, are there things in place to prevent abuse of this by maybe their children that are trying to sell this policy and the person has dementia and they don't know or stuff like that? Are there policies that help protect them as well?
Absolutely. And remember, we talked about a lot of the research that I did.
Mhm.
I like compliant marketplaces. I like protections for people. If there were no protections, I wouldn't be here. Here's the answer to your question. Yes. So not only am I regulated by the Department of Insurance, whatever state's Department of Insurance a client is in, I'm regulated by that. So are the buyers. So that's really important. This is not someone's next door neighbor buying their life insurance policy, which would be creepy on a good day. These buyers have to be approved by the Department of Insurance to purchase policies, first of all. Second of all, in the sale contract, much of the language is mandated by the Department of Insurance, and the Department of Insurance has approved contract language. So that's number one. Number two, there are HIPAA protections in place for all the right reasons. Number three, beneficiaries must sign off. And we're not just talking about signing, it has to be notarized. They know this policy is being sold and that they will not be able to receive the death benefit. The other thing that happens, back to the dementia issue, is that in every situation, the client's doctor does have to sign off that they are of sound mind to complete the transaction. And if for some reason they're not, like perhaps there is dementia, if a power of attorney is in place, then that power of attorney can be signed off, right? That's their job anyway. And that's fine. So there are a lot of protections and regulations in place to protect this vulnerable population because no one wants to take advantage of a senior. They're selling a life insurance policy. Everyone wants to make sure that all parties know exactly what is going on and what's going to happen.
Okay. So first of all, for what I'm hearing of this is making sure that you have ultimate trust and faith in your power of attorney because they can sign off on your life insurance policy sale. Can you choose who buys your policy? Like if somebody was buying their policy and you knew that it was being invested in some kind of fund that supported some kind of cause that maybe you didn't believe in, could you say, no, I'm not going to do that to that person, but choose somebody else? Or do they not have that information?
They first of all, they wouldn't have any information about it, and second of all, it's not like I said, this tends to be hedge funds and mutual funds and college endowment funds that put money behind these providers. So let me explain what a provider is. The providers are the legal entity, right? The approved entity from the Department of Insurance to be able to purchase policies. They are different than the money people, if you will. So the money people invest the money, but it is the provider that is purchasing the policies and administering the policies. So the clients, frankly, wouldn't even know who these providers are.
Okay.
They would have no idea.
So they just know they're getting X amount of dollars for this policy that they'll get paid when they pass away.
They will know who the provider is that purchases their policy. But so there's some of them that are advertising on TV. So they will know that because that's all over the contract. But they're not going to know who other providers are. The market is large from a money perspective, but it's not large from a number of providers perspective. And it's not, these providers are not investing in any other assets, right? They're investing in life insurance policies.
Okay. All right, Lisa. So if anybody has any further questions regarding this or whatever, they can just reach out to you at your website.
Yeah, please do. My phone number is 714-349-7981. I'm going to repeat real quick, 714-349-7981. My email is super easy. It's my first initial last name at AOL. So Lrehburg at AOL.com. Or as you mentioned, RehburgLifeSettlements.com. We have a lot of information on our website if people would prefer to go there. It's just a privilege to be of service. We do work in all 50 states. And I just love helping clients.
Also, if you're viewing this from the Hip Senior, she does have a page on the Hip Senior with all of her contact information as well. And we will have all this information in the notes of this podcast as well. So, Lisa, thank you so much for educating us a little bit more about life insurance settlements. Again, I knew nothing about this. So, I hope that most of you have at least learned something about it. And if you want to learn more, definitely reach out to Lisa and see if she can help you or one of your loved ones with some money issues for this. So, Lisa, thank you so much.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you so much, Marianne.
Right. Take care.